The night was quiet, too quiet for what was about to unfold. Rain fell softly against the window, tracing slow tears down the glass, mirroring the ones streaming from Clara's eyes. Her trembling hands clutched a framed photo of her wedding day, once the happiest day of her life, now a cruel reminder of the man who had sworn to protect her, only to become her greatest threat. The laughter in the photo mocked her. She had given everything, her trust, her loyalty, her years, to a man who had already begun plotting her end. CTA first, before we continue this heart-wrenching story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness, where stories of betrayal, love, and redemption remind us of the power of truth and karma. Clara and Adrian had been married for 7 years. To everyone around them, they were the perfect couple, successful, elegant, the kind of love that people envied. Adrian was a corporate manager, charming and ambitious. Clara, a small-town girl turned entrepreneur, ran a local bakery that had become the pride of their neighborhood. But behind their immaculate smiles and perfectly filtered photos, something dark had been brewing for months. Something Clara never saw coming. Adrian's affair began innocently, or so he told himself. Her name was Mia. She was beautiful, dangerous, and knew exactly how to make a man like Adrian feel powerful. She laughed at his jokes, made him feel young again, told him what he wanted to hear, that his wife didn't understand him anymore. Slowly, Mia's voice became the one in his head, whispering that he deserved better, that Clara was just holding him back. Clara, however, noticed the shift. The late-night meetings, the sudden phone calls, the scent of unfamiliar perfume on his shirts. Still, she refused to believe her heart's worst suspicion. She convinced herself that love was stronger than lies, that Adrian just needed time. So she cooked his favorite meals, left him notes of encouragement, and waited for the man. She married to return. But the truth was, that man was gone, replaced by someone colder. One night, she followed him. Her heart pounded as she trailed his car through the rain. When he stopped at a dimly lit restaurant outside the city, Clara saw it all. Adrian's hand wrapped around another woman's, his lips brushing hers as he whispered promises that once belonged to Clara. She stood there, soaked and shaking, the ground disappearing beneath her feet. In that moment, something inside her broke, not in weakness, but in awakening. She didn't confront him that night. Instead, she went home, took off her wedding ring, and sat in silence until dawn. The next morning, she smiled at him as if nothing was wrong. She needed to see how far he was willing to go, and soon she found out. Adrian's greed had grown darker than his guilt. With Mia's influence, he began plotting something unimaginable. He had been secretly transferring Clara's bakery funds into an offshore account under his name. He told Mia that once Clara was gone, everything she owned, her assets, her business, would be theirs. He just needed it to look like an accident. Mia laughed when he told her the plan, not realizing that fate had already written a different ending for them both. Days later, Adrian offered Clara a trip to the mountains, saying they needed a getaway. It was the first time in months he had shown her affection, and though her instincts screamed danger, Clara agreed. She wanted to see where this charade would lead. The drive was long and winding. The storm clouds gathered, above, painting the sky in gray. Clara watched his hands on the steering wheel, steady but cold. She remembered those hands once holding hers when she was sick, once wiping her tears when her mother passed away. Now they were hands that could destroy her. Halfway up the mountain, Adrian suggested they stop by a cliff to take in the view. The air was heavy, and Clara's heartbeat echoed in her ears. As she stepped close to the edge, Adrian moved behind her. His voice was low, chilling. "Do you ever wonder," he said, "what it would feel like to just let go?" Clara turned, tears filling her eyes. But she wasn't afraid. She had already found the evidence. She had already contacted the police. Everything he'd done, every transfer, every message to Mia, was backed up on a drive she had hidden away. "Funny," she whispered. "I was wondering the same thing about you." Before he could react, flashing lights cut through the fog. Police cars pulled up behind them. Adrian's face drained of color as officers surrounded the scene. He tried to run, but it was useless. Clara stood still as they handcuffed him. The betrayal in his eyes wasn't for what he'd done. It was for being caught. Mia didn't escape either. The moment she heard of Adrian's arrest, she tried to flee with what money they had stolen, only to crash her car during a chase. She survived, but barely. From her hospital bed, she confessed everything, her voice trembling as if she, too, finally realized that karma has a way of reclaiming what it's owed. Clara's world was shattered, but she refused to stay broken. She rebuilt her bakery, renamed it New Dawn, and began teaching young women how to manage their own businesses, especially those who had been through betrayal and loss. Her pain became her purpose. CTA second. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness, where real emotions, real stories, and real justice remind us that goodness always finds a way back. Months later, Clara stood at the same cliff, this time alone, the wind brushing against her hair. The sun was setting, painting the horizon in gold. She took a deep breath, not of sadness, but of peace. Karma had done its work, but so had she. She learned that when life tries to destroy you, sometimes the best revenge isn't anger. It's survival. It's smiling when they expect you to fall apart. It's rising higher when they wanted you to disappear. As the last light faded, Clara whispered softly to the wind, "You almost ended me, Adrian, but in doing so, you gave me back my strength." And with that she walked away, not as a broken wife, but as a woman reborn.